The top stories tonight in Y News. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. eyes the groundbreaking of 1.2 million housing units before his State of the Nation address.
President Marcos Jr. reacts on Chinese ambassador to the Philippines Wang Shilian's remarks on the safety of overseas Filipino workers in Taiwan.
The Philippine government assures military sites under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement with the United States will be used in evacuating overseas Filipino workers should tensions escalate in the Taiwan Strait.
And the United States urges its North Atlantic Treaty Organization allies to remain alert for signs that Russian President Vladimir Putin could use a tactical nuclear weapon in Ukraine.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Wednesday, the 19th of April, 2023. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am William Theo.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am Harding Delgado.
First in the news, the Marcos government has commenced the construction of 1.2 million housing units under its program, the Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino program. Nel Maribohok reports.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said the government will exceed its annual target of 1 million housing units with the provision of at least 1.2 million housing units under the Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino Housing Program or 4PH. According to the President, around 1.2 million housing units have broken ground since the new administration started 10 months ago.
So kung maka-start tayo, what are we now? 10 months? 10 months, nag 1.2 million na si Sec Jerry. Tignan natin, basta't ipagpatuloy. Malaking kumpiyansa ko kasi nung nasa private sector siya, nagagawa niya talaga eh. Alam niyang gawin eh. So, I think we'll just wait for the actual structures to start coming up. Yan, puntahan din natin yung pagka nangyari na.
In a chance interview during one of the events, President Marcos said he is hoping to inspect soon housing units that have already been completed.
Kaya sinasabi, tinutokso ko kasi Secretary Jerry, sabi ko sa kanya, sa susunod naman, dalhin mo kami doon sa mga may naitayo na. Kasi baka sasabihin na panay ribbon cutting natin tapos wala nang nangyari.
PBBM is confident that his administration is on the right track in providing and offering affordable housing solutions to Filipinos. The 4PH aims to build 1 million housing units annually until 2028 to address the housing backlog. Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said that he intends to talk with Chinese ambassador to the Philippines Wang Shilian amid the Chinese envoy's remarks on the safety of overseas Filipino workers in Taiwan. According to the president, Ambassador Wang's statement on the issue must have been lost in translation. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
The public might have misinterpreted the statement of Chinese ambassador to the Philippines Wang Shilian during his speech at the 8th Manila Forum last week, according to President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. In a chance interview, the president said that he was also surprised by the comment of the ambassador Huang, but he believes that the Chinese envoy might have meant something entirely different.
I think there must have been an element of yung lost in translation. It's not his English is not his first language, but I'm very interested to know what it is that he meant. I believe I interpret it as him trying to say that you should not, Philippines do not provoke or intensify the tensions because it will impact badly on the Filipinos in the well. That's how I take it.
The diplomat earlier advised the Philippines to oppose Taiwan's independence if it genuinely cares about the 150,000 Filipinos working in Taiwan. This is amid the rising tension between Taiwan and China. Ambassador Wang was also dismayed by the number of enhanced defense cooperation agreement or EDCA sites between the Philippines and the United States. President Marcos Jr. also said that he intends to meet with a Chinese diplomat to clarify the said statement, but a schedule has yet to be announced regarding the said meeting.
I'll be talking to the ambassador soon, and I'm sure he will be very anxious to give his own interpretation of what he was trying to say. Yeah, we were all a little surprised, but I just put it down to the difference in language.
Meanwhile, Chinese State Councilor and Foreign Minister Qin Gang will visit the Philippines this weekend upon the invitation of Department of Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo. The Foreign Affairs Department said the two officials will discuss how to increase and strengthen the two nations' cooperation in the fields of agriculture, trade, energy, infrastructure, and people-to-people relations, among others. Eileen Cerulo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Philippine government assures that evacuating overseas Filipino workers in Taiwan will be the priority should tensions escalate in the Taiwan Strait. However, an expert cautions against using American assets on rescuing Filipinos. Harleen Delgado will tell us why.
Senator Amy Marcos once again questioned the selection of new military sites in northern Luzon under the expanded Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement or EDCA with the United States. This as she worried that the Philippines might be caught in the crossfires should tensions between Taiwan and China escalate. In today's hearing of the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs, Marcos expresses concern with the new law in the U.S. that will enable contingency stockpile of military weapons in the region. And should war erupts, overseas Filipino workers in Taiwan could be in danger.
Nakausap ko na rin ng Westcom at kung sino-sino pa, wala talagang plano hanggang ngayon. Pinag-uusapan pa lamang, nag-agree na tayo sa 3 EDCA sites na bago doon sa bandang Taiwan. Dapat inuna muna ang sitwasyon ng mga OFWs sa Taiwan.
Defense Officer in Charge, Senior Undersecretary Carlito Galvez Jr. says the evacuation of Filipinos in Taiwan would be their primordial concern. Galvez adds there is a possibility to use EDCA sites and the military assets of the United States in evacuating Filipinos.
Lahat po natin na mga tinatawag natin defense attachés already have that kind of arrangement with our Philippine country team. We really are planning for contingencies, for emergencies, just in case there will be a breakout of a conflict, heightened conflict on the different plus points that we have identified.
However, an expert cautions against using American assets and rescuing Filipinos as it may put them in danger.
The approach of an American vessel or aircraft towards Taiwan, even if it's for the purposes of evacuating OFWs, who would call an offensive attack on that vessel or aircraft by China. I think that they would be targeted rather than allowed to evacuate our OFWs. And therefore, in the course of using EDCA for purposes of evacuation, our OFWs might be endangered rather than rescued.
Senator Marcos is proposing to look into renegotiating the terms and conditions of EDCA and renewing the agreement, which is set to expire in June next year. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God. The Bureau of Corrections or Bucor will release over 500 persons deprived of liberty or PDLs tomorrow morning, April 20. Some of them are from the New Bilibid Prison or NBP. Several are acquitted, given of parole, and finished their maximum sentence. Department of Justice Secretary Crispin Boying Remulla is expected to lead the culminating activity.
The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board said it is open for a dialogue after a transport group expressed their opposition against 10,300 additional slots for transport network vehicle service. JP Nunez will tell us why.
The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, believes that all issues and concerns in the transport sector could be resolved with sincere dialogue. The invitation was extended after transport group Labanti and VS expressed their opposition to LTFRB's board resolution to open 10,300 additional slots for TNVS in Metro Manila and nearby provinces. During the press conference earlier today, April 19, led by Labanti and VS and joined by other transport groups, Labanti and VS opposed the additional 10,300 slots for new TNVS applicants. Its National President Jun De Leon insisted that if the government really wants to address the supply issue of TNVS, the LTFRB should expedite its system to approve pending TNVS applications before the lockdowns in 2020. De Leon reiterated that the additional slots for TNVS will mean oversupply, higher fare rates, and worsen the traffic situation in Metro Manila.
Napakarami na po ng sasakyan ng TNVS sa kakalsadahan at napaka-traffic na po para magdagdag pa po ng additional 10,300.
JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And for news abroad, the clash between Sudan's military and its main paramilitary force continues even after a ceasefire was meant to commence. Mavian Dog will tell us why live. Yes, Maeve?
Mariel, loud gunfire and military aircraft continue to be heard and seen in the Khartoum capital region in Sudan, minutes after the agreed ceasefire at 6 p.m. local time. Sudan's army and its rival Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, accuse each other of breaking the truce. Both sides have agreed on a ceasefire, which was appealed by U.S. State Secretary Antony Blinken on Tuesday, April 18, to provide relief to civilians and allow them to be safely reunited with their families. Sudan's army will continue operations to secure the capital and the other regions, as Colonel Khaled Al-Aqida stated that the RSF does not respect the truce. Musa Kadam from the RSF, on the other hand, claims that it will uphold its part of the agreement. RSF further claimed that Sudan armed forces have no responsibility to the Sudanese citizens. Meanwhile, United Nations spokesperson Stefan Dujarric confirmed that there is no indication of a halt in fighting. A shorter ceasefire was also previously ignored by the two groups, with much of the fighting trapping residents and foreigners in their homes. Marielle?
Maeve, what is the status of the civilians in the country?
Marielle, civilians have reported lack of water and food while in the midst of power outages. Almost 200 people were also killed due to the fighting since Saturday. The Red Cross also reports that Sudan's health system is on the verge of collapse, and it is unlikely that people would have enough time to seek help even if the clash dies down. Back to you, Marielle.
All right, thank you, Maven Dog, for that live report. We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, Marielle. For those watching our live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. A lawmaker is pushing for the postponement of the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections in Negros Oriental. In today's hearing of the Senate Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs on the Degamo slay and killings in the province, Senator Francis Tolentino warned that the current political climate in Negros Oriental may lead to further chaos. By postponing the elections, Tolentino believes it will allow peacekeeping forces to gain momentum in maintaining law and order in the province. The senator requested the panel to invite once again Commission on Elections Chairman George Erwin Garcia in the next hearing to discuss the proposal. Degamo's widow, Pamplona Mayor Janice Degamo, welcomes Tolentino's proposal.
The regional director of the National Bureau of Investigation in Central Visayas claimed he was threatened by suspended Negros Oriental 3rd District Representative Arnolfo Teves Jr. over the e-sabong. Dante Amento tells us why.
National Bureau of Investigation or NBI Central Visayas Regional Director Attorney Rinan Oliva disclosed in today's Senate hearing that suspended Negros Oriental 3rd District Representative Arnolfo Teves Jr. allegedly told him not to follow orders to crack down the operations of e-sabong in the area. The legislator personally went to their office last September 20, 2022. Oliva added that Teves threatened him to face complaints if he will not stop the anti-e-sabong raids.
He then proceeded to ask me who authorized the operation, which I told him it was our director, in line with the order of our president to stop all e-sabong activities. I was then surprised of his response to me, which he told me that he will sue my men for stealing 7 million pesos at the cockpit.
But before the incident occurred, an NBI official also called and asked him to talk to Congressman Teves.
I received a call from a colleague in the person of then Assistant Regional Director Noel Bucaling of NBI Pampanga and asked me that Congressman Arnolfo Teves wanted to talk to me. I asked him what was that about. He told me it was about the operation that we conducted against the e-sabong. He told me na pakusapan mo, i-meet mo lang si Congressman because magandang okay na tao yan.
Last February 28, a complaint was filed against Director Oliva and his men before the Deputy Ombudsman for Visayas. He believes it was due to their operation against e-sabong in the region.
The exact words that he said during your conversation.
Hindi kita isasama sa kaso ng mga tao mo pag in-negative mo ang mga order sa'yo na mag-operate ng e-sabong operation.
Alam mo, kung ako sinabihan nun, sagutin ko rin siya, how dare you? Who you? Ha? Para sabihan mo ako ng ganun. That's very bad. Akala ko, police lang ang kaya niyan takot-takutin doon, pati NBI pala.
Meanwhile, Congressman Teves has no answer yet on the accusation against him. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Quezon City local government and some schools in the city intensified measures for water conservation amid the possible effects of El Nino in the country. Bernadette Tinoy will tell us why.
Kamuning Elementary School in Quezon City has intensified water conservation measures amid the possible effects of El Nino. According to Kamuning Elementary School Principal Luisito Cleto, this is a directive from the local government of Quezon City. He said that they have implemented a schedule for students to wash their hands, which is monitored by their class advisors.
Meron kami mga group wash area, may mga schedule ng paghuhugas ng kamay, may schedule ng pagtututbrush sabay-sabay, at yan ay monitored ng class advisor.
Cleto added that even he and other non-teaching personnel ensure monitoring and avoid wasting water.
Mahigpit din kami sa mga paggamit ng tubig, ng water facilities. Katunayan, yung mga non-teaching personnel ay nagbabantay para masiguro na they don't play with water. Personally, minomonitor ko siya para masiguro na nagtitipid ng tubig. Kasi hindi naman kami nagbabayad ng tubig ng aming water consumption. Ito ay sagot ng Quezon City government. Kaya dapat natin pangalagaan yung pagtitipid ng tubig.
Cleto reiterates the importance of water conservation amid the crisis that the country is facing. Meanwhile, the Quezon City local government released a state order directive for responsible water use. This is to measure water conservation in barangays and schools and to educate students through educational seminars.
Meron kaming water conservation measures hindi lang sa City Hall, maski sa mga barangays at mga schools. Very active kami na nagka-campaign din maski sa mga estudyante by inviting them sa aming mga water education seminars. Pinapakita namin sa kanila yung value ng tubig. Saan ba tayo kumukuha ng source ng tubig natin, and then ano bang status na ng mga sources at paano siya dinideliver sa bawat bahay.
Yesterday, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ordered the creation of an El Niño team to address its possible effect in the country. Bernadette Tinoy, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAG-ASA, has identified 29 provinces in the country that may experience less rainfall this month. These include Ilocos Norte, Batangas, and Cavite with a 60% or more reduction in rainfall. Other provinces from the Cordillera Administrative Region, Regions 1 to 6, and also the National Capital Region. These areas are projected to experience a 20 to 60% reduction in rainfall, but PAG-ASA clarifies that this is not yet the effect of El Nino. PAG-ASA Deputy Administrator Esperanza Cayanan said that before the country would feel the impact of El Nino in the last quarter of the year, they are expecting that the country could experience heavy rainfall. Starting June, the onset of the Habagat or northeast monsoon season is expected, which will make days rainy, especially in the western section of the country.
From previous experience po natin, pwede po tayo maka-experience ng extreme rainfall event, kagaya po ng isang example nung Ondoy noong 2009, wherein nagkaroon po kasi tayo ng El Nino 2009-2010. Pero bago natin naramdaman yung kakulangan sa tubig, naka-experience po tayo ng extreme event.
The production of sugar in the country may be affected by the looming El Nino. According to Manuel Lamata, the president of United Sugar Producers Federation, or UNIFED, they usually experience a 10 to 15% reduction in sugar production due to the effects of El Nino in the past. This is equivalent to around 4 million bags of sugar.
It depends po, ma'am, ano ka-severe yung El Nino. Kasi may mga El Nino na hindi naman masyadong matagal. Mga 2-3 months, kayang-kaya pa yan. Kung magtagal yan ng mga 6 months, 8 months, ayaw, matay na talaga yan. Tuyong-tuyo na lahat. So, delikado.
Sugar Regulatory Administration, or SRA board member Pablo Azgona, said that farm gate price of sugar may increase by 5 to 6 pesos due to the increase in production cost. This is primarily in irrigating sugarcane plantation. However, 90% of the production comes from small farms that have no capacity to irrigate their crops. The Department of Agriculture and SRA are now preparing measures to mitigate the possible impact of the El Nino, including cloud seeding operations.
The most impact will be felt next season because at this moment it is the growing season or the vegetative stage of most of the sugarcane in Negros and other parts of the Philippines. So this is the time that it needs the water, it needs to grow.
U.S. diplomat and Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman issued a warning to the U.S. and its NATO allies to remain alert for signs that Russian President Vladimir Putin could use a tactical nuclear weapon in a managed escalation of his war in Ukraine. Joselito Liquido will tell us the details live. Yes, Joselito, go ahead.
Good evening, Mariel. During the opening session of the annual NATO Arms Control Conference held in North America for the first time since its inception in 2004, the Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman warned the U.S. and its North Atlantic Treaty Organization or NATO allies must remain vigilant for any signs of Russian President Vladimir Putin using a tactical nuclear weapon in a managed escalation of his war in Ukraine. Sherman also emphasized on the importance of NATO and its allies collaborating and working towards the common goal of ensuring global safety and reducing the risk of any potential threats.
NATO's strength and unity are more important than ever. NATO's deterrent capability is more necessary than ever. NATO and like-minded partners must be more determined than ever to fortify the infrastructure that's helped keep the world secure for decades. Risk reduction, crisis communications, stabilization mechanisms, confidence-building measures, and multilateral agreements designed to halt the growth of dangerous weapons.
She stated that they have all watched and worried on the possibility that Vladimir Putin would use what he considered a non-strategical tactical nuclear weapon as a demonstration effect in order to escalate the war in a managed risk way. She added that Putin's recent announcement stating that Russia is preparing to station tactical nuclear weapons in neighboring Belarus is an effort to use this as a form of a threat. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, who joined Sherman in opening the conference, echoed her concerns and called Putin's plan to place tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus a part of a years-long pattern of dangerous, irresponsible nuclear rhetoric that intensified with the brutalization of Ukraine. Sherman emphasized that the U.S. will continue to downgrade intelligence for sharing with NATO's other 30 members so that everyone knows where they stand. Meanwhile, despite the intense fighting in Ukraine that has been costly for both sides, Russian President Vladimir Putin continues to deny any intention of using nuclear weapons in the region. Mariel?
Thank you, Joselito Liquido, for that live report. The United States once again dominates the list of wealthiest cities in the world, with New York remaining in the top spot. According to the Henley Global Citizens Report released today by the investment migration firm Henley & Partners, the Big Apple is currently home to 345,600 high net worth individuals, collectively holding a total private wealth of more than $3 trillion. This is higher compared to many G20 countries and equates to a growth of 40% over the past decade. However, San Francisco, which is currently the Tech Innovation Center, has the highest median household income, and if trends continue, the Bay Area can become the #1 millionaire hub by 2040. Meanwhile, Asia is the region with the second most millionaires, with Tokyo claiming second and 3 Chinese cities also garnering positions. Europe, on the other hand, comes third, with London as the only European city to make it in the top 10. Elsewhere, Moscow has seen a 44% plunge, with the Russia-Ukraine war being a major contributing factor. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Mariela Toza, reporting live from Perth, Australia. Good evening.
Health experts continue to monitor the new Omicron subvariant XBB.1.16, which is spreading in other countries. The said variant appears to have different symptoms. Gladys Tawabi will tell us why.
He has not recorded yet XBB.1.16 or the so-called Arcturus.
Despite this, the Department of Health or DOH continues to monitor evidence to provide the public with proper guidance, as this variant is already spreading in some countries.
It has this ability to evade immunity at saka mas transmissible siya. Pero hanggang sa ngayon, wala pa ring ebidensya ang pinapakita na ito ay can cause more severe infections.
Apart from the usual symptoms of COVID-19, such as fever, sore throat, cough, and runny nose, individuals infected with Arcturus experience conjunctivitis.
Actually, itong bagong variant na to, almost the same as symptoms, pero mas, sabi nga nila, mas highly transmissible to. At may nakita sila sa mga bata na infected daw sa mga bata, pero yung meron para to ay conjunctivitis sa mga estudyante na pinapamahin.
DOH says that the virus is still here to stay. Thus, it is expected to mutate and more subvariants will be detected. This is why the DOH continues to remind the public to wear face masks and take advantage of the vaccination programs in their respective local government units to protect themselves from the virus.
Kung ano po yung ginagawa natin, katulad ng pagmamas, katulad ng pagbabakuna, katulad ng pag-iiwas sa matataong lugar o di kaya pangit ang ventilasyon, kahit anong variant pa po ang dumating, yan po ay magiging epektibo laban dito.
Gladys Tuwabi, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Health warns the public of the threat of common diseases during El Niño phenomenon. According to the DOH, proper procedures must be followed to avoid the presence of different types of diseases. El Niño is expected to hit the country between July and September, and along with it are the outcomes of diseases caused by extreme heat and sudden changes in the weather. The El Niño phenomenon is a climate condition that brings extremely hot temperatures, which causes drought and increased cases of different types of diseases. Based on the warning of DOH, the expected illnesses during El Niño include diarrhea and skin diseases that can be caused by a lack of water supply, exhaustion, heat cramps, stroke due to the intense heat, poisoning, asthma, vomiting, and other fish food affected by red tide. Vector-borne diseases such as dengue, cholera, and typhoid fever may also increase. The DOH and other relevant agencies are now preparing measures to mitigate the possible impact of El Niño, including proper health education, early warning systems, and timely distribution of medicine and medical supplies in affected areas.
Ang gusto lamang po ng ating presidente, si President Bongbong Marcos Jr., na sana po tayo lahat ay maging handa sa mga epekto nitong El Niño phenomenon. Maari naman pong maiwasan lahat ng sakit na maaring idulot ng El Niño phenomenon kung tayo po ay mananatiling handa at kung tayo ay mananatiling aware o alam po natin kung paano natin iiwasan ang mga sakit na ito na mangyari sa ating pamilya.
The Tourism Office of Oriental Mindoro announced that many tourist bookings have been canceled since Sunday after the announcement of the water quality failure in Puerto Galera. Only 9 out of 35 stations have passed the oil and grease test done by the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR. The Department of Tourism said yesterday in a media briefing that about 5.3 million pesos per day in tourism revenues will be lost in Oriental Mindoro if Puerto Galera is closed due to the oil spill. 85% of Oriental Mindoro's tourism income comes from Puerto Galera. Businesswoman Jerilyn Calderon received consecutive calls from their clients to cancel the booking since yesterday. She owns a restaurant, bar, and lodging in the island. That's why she explains it well, just so her visitors don't cancel. Every weekend and long holiday, many tourists visit Puerto Galera. But for now, many tourist workers are afraid of losing their jobs.
Our kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity from Monday to Friday, 9:30 p.m. Philippine time through the social media accounts of Members Church of God International.
close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 22. It says, "A merry heart doeth good like medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones." And those are the reasons behind the news, April 19, 2023. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Harleen Delgado.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.